What is inside an electric drill? Here we've got a Milwaukee, it's a 12-volt drill. So of course you've got your trigger, turns it on and off. You got a switch here, forward and reverse. I'm going to assume that's just a polarity switch. Up here you've got two speeds, 1 and 2. And then of course you have up here a clutch. So with these you can turn this and it will only go to a certain torque before the clutch starts to slip. This is so for in certain scenarios you need a low torque and you don't want to strip something out. You can set that on there. That way you just hold the trigger down, go until the drill turns itself off. Of course the chuck at the end, so you're going to put stuff in and out of it. Let's see what the inside of this thing looks like. Got all our screws out. Let's see if we can get this thing to separate. Starting to. There it goes. Got one more clip here at the bottom. And there's the inside. So as we look at the inside of this thing, you've got your trigger here. We've got a little bit of a circuit board up here. Of course our battery leads hook up down there. You've got an electric motor. I'm going to guess this, this right here is going to be our gear set. It's going to allow us to go the higher speed, lower speed. Then we get into the front of this, which is that clutch mechanism we talked about. Let's take this thing apart a little further, see what it looks like. Let's start with this top assembly. So that whole thing just lifts up out of there. Got our circuit board. There's our switch for our gears. And there's the whole assembly. So it's that simple. Here's your switch that reverses the polarity, goes forward and reverse. Let's look at this a little closer. So once again, here's where our battery power goes. Simply got a on-off variable switch. A board. It's going to have some protections in it, I'm sure. Then we get into the motor, the gears, and the clutch. Let's take those apart. So this is how they're changing gears. It simply rotates on the hinge there. It's got two little ears on either side that would just allow it to slide into first or second gear. So it appears that the motor, there's nothing that holds the actual motor to the gears except for the case, because as I was taking it apart, that thing just came right off of there. And when we get the screws out of there, there's our outer gear. And then we've got some planetary gears in there. These will lift off. You've got some more gears in here that rotate the whole assembly. I'm going to set these gears in the clutch aside. We'll take those apart here in a second. Let's focus in on these electronics. This is pretty self-explanatory. You've just got your electric motor. Battery drives that. Turns your gears. They're able to basically speed up or slow down, add torque to the output of this motor through these gears. That's what that 1-2 speed is. You're able to change it as you need to. That part's pretty self-explanatory. Now when we look at the electronics, these are the 2 wires that went to the motor. This is where your power comes in. You can see that actually runs to the board, so kind of like I suspected, the power runs into the board, then out to the switch. Switch actuates it, allows it to go out to the motor. So there's some heat sink on the back of this. There's also going to be some brains in this thing of some sort, probably to make sure it has the right voltage to run and those kind of things. I'm not a electrical engineer or anything. If anybody knows any more about these boards and what exactly they do and how they do it, drop that down in the comments. I'm sure everybody would like to know. We do have a LED light. That is what shined out of the front of the drill anytime you're using it. Interesting thing about LEDs is they're a light bulb, but they're directional. So your power can only go in one direction. If you try to run power the opposite direction through an LED, it's not going to light up. So I've tried to get this switch apart and basically just destroyed it in the process. I definitely don't want that thing coming apart. It's meant to be put together and never taken apart again. So, of course, I'm taking this drill apart because it's no good anymore. But it was almost like the motor burned up in it. As I'm looking at this thing, there was clearly a chafing point on that wire there. So that may have been part of the problem what killed the motor in the first place. As you get deeper into this, this is what was laying up in there. Another set of gears and these ball bearings. Now this is another issue you see with these drills a lot of times. These things are at job sites. People are using them out in the garage and shop, just dirty environments. You get a bunch of dirt or water or anything up in there, you start to corrode away at this stuff. You start to lose the lubrication. This one's not too bad, but even there you can just see a bunch of gunk in there. Once again, I've seen way worse. That wasn't the problem with this specific one, but that is a problem you see with electric drills a lot. So we get down to this point, and here's the shaft that actually the motor, the gears, everything drive that turn your chuck on this side. Looks like it's just a snap ring that holds that in, but it's setting in there on a bearing. So one of the interesting things is I believe this shaft runs all the way down, and what holds this assembly on is if we look straight down the chuck with it opened all the way open, there's actually what looks like a Phillips head screw down in there. Let's take that out and see what happens. So I'm gonna have to get something to hold that shaft to be able to get this screw out. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a guess that that is probably red Loctited in. I've got a crescent wrench on this side to hold the shaft. Got the biggest screwdriver I can fit in there, and it will not budge. Be able to get this part taken completely apart. After working on this a little bit more, this was actually just pressed in there. So it was just that snap ring. I just had to get a hold of this, hit the shaft from this side, and it popped apart. Now this and this is what that big Phillips head inside there was for. Now we've got some small screws here to see if we can get that clutch assembly apart. Set all these screws to the side. First thing, we've got a little cover. You can pull that adjuster wheel off of there and take a look. So this clutch mechanism, similar to just like, a motorcycle setup. You've got springs, and what happens is these little retainers are what snap it into each different setting. But then this whole ring, as it turns, so in the different positions, it either moves in or out because it's threaded. As you can see, that's threaded. So that's what changes the spring tension pressing in or out. That's what gets you your higher or lower torque setting. And then on the chuck itself, had just a plastic cover, snaps on there. Once you get it off, you can see the 3 teeth for your jaw each have a pin on the back. Kind of hard to see, but there are threads cut into one side. So when you hold the shaft, turn the housing, what's happening is, see that centerpiece is staying still, but the outside is moving. So it's just running those threads in and out. So the further you go, you see the more of those pins come down, which is what correlates to all 3 of those jaws as they come up and close. So you run them all the way down to where they're touching, that's all you get. You can see just how inset those pins are now. So there you have it. Electric drill torn completely apart. Showed you all the individual components. Once again, if you guys got any information on the circuit board or any of the things I didn't cover, be sure to throw those in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope this answered some of your questions on what's inside an electric drill. See you guys next time.